Probably if we can both see it, that would be good. All right. I might do a clap so that on the recording we can see it. Hello, everyone. Today we are about to present the first webinar in the Digital How-To series. This is actually the third time we've run through this, so hopefully we'll be able to bring out some even more gems along the way, soon as it's, well, the third time we've run it. Anyway, thanks so much for coming along. This is the first time we've tried it in Google Hangout, so let's hope that it all hangs together in Google Hangout and we can get across to you the information that we want to. Now, for those of you who don't know who I am and who have not been around us before, where have you been? But in reality, my name's Michelle Frost, and my husband and I are busy traveling the world at the moment for about 2 years, it seems. We've already been away from home for a year. In fact, we've just had our 1-year anniversary since we left home, and we have what looks like another year to go before we get back to home. And home is in Tasmania in Australia. We have with us 3 of our children who are also traveling with us, which is great, and seeing lots of amazing things in the world. Now, the one reason that we can travel so much is that we have a digital business. And because we have a digital business, or a business that works online, we can actually be anywhere. We are location independent, if you like. So we can be anywhere in the world as long as we have an internet connection. So because people are seeing that we're traveling long term, they keep asking us, how are you doing that? So one of the ways we thought we would combat that would be to actually show you one of the ways we are doing that, which is basically how to create a digital product that you can sell online. And in this instance, we actually thought, what better way to show you than by teaching you how to create a digital product relating to something you already know how to do, or you're very interested in knowing how to do something. Hence, it's called Digital How-Tos. So without further ado, let's get a bit of a move on, and we'll see if we can get through this presentation in less than an hour. We do have the ability for you to ask us questions if you like. There is a lot of information here. You may only be watching the video later, and that's great too. If so, please come over with your questions to our Facebook group called Boldly Different. You should be able to find that if you go search for it on Facebook. There's a bit of a community developing there, and we're all helping each other out and answering those kind of questions where you might get stuck along the way when you're in the process of creating your digital product. The other slightly different thing you might notice about this presentation is, once we get past this first page, is that all of the slides are just images of some of the places we've been in the last year. So if you like, they're there to show you a little bit of an inspiration, I guess. That's my aim, is that it'll inspire you to get out and do something a bit different. It may not be travel, that may not be your cup of tea, it might be something else. But hopefully the images of some of the things that we've seen in the last year will inspire you to explore your dream and actually take action on some of the things we talk about today and over the next 2 weeks. How do we know all this stuff? Well, yes, obviously we're doing it, which is what I've already just told you, but also over the last 13 years, we have actually been creating our own digital products and selling them online. And we've also been educating small business in our community back in Australia on how to do similar things, how to improve their business online. So we've been working in this field for 13 years. So we do know a little bit about it. So there's our credentials out of the way. Okay, let's get going. I'm very excited. This is something I am so passionate about, actually teaching people how to develop a business online, something that gives them more freedom and basically opens up the world to them if they like, if that's what their choice is, to have like travel like us. All right, so which does very neatly bring you into the next slide. Why are you here? If you'd like, feel free to put it in the chat right now, or come over to Boldly Different. We'd love to hear why you're interested in developing a digital product. For some people, it's because they want the freedom that a little bit more money can bring. They don't want to be millionaires with all of the pressure that brings. They just want some more money. They just want to have a little bit more freedom and a little bit more choice in their life. For other people, they just want to learn the first steps of working online. It's something that they've been interested in for a long time, and so they're here for that reason. Or maybe you just want to create something that you can call your own, something you can be proud of. Excuse me. Or perhaps you're like us and you want to travel the world and you want to have a business that's location independent, where you can be your own boss basically, and you can be your own boss anywhere in the world as long as there's an internet connection. Or maybe you've always wanted to learn how to create your own business. Maybe the idea of running a business online is actually quite fascinating for you. And of course, for most of us out here, creating our own businesses or running our own businesses, being our own boss is actually quite a big push. We often will say we're kind of unemployable now because, you know, we do things the way we want to do them and we don't necessarily like being told what to do. And maybe you're that kind of person as well. All right, so if you like, feel free to come over to Boldly Different and tell us why you're so interested in having a digital product. So why a digital product in particular? You know, why not in something that is a solid product? You know, why not open a shop, for example, down the high street? Well, basically, it's that online nature of it that gives you that extra freedom. When we first started creating digital products, it was the fact that we had no inventory. We didn't have to keep stock of how many widgets that we had at any one time. We didn't have to go to the post office, for example. We didn't have to deal with broken products either and deal with returns in that fashion. We had an unlimited supply, and we could easily change and update the things that we had as well. So all of those things made it a really good option for us to create and sell products. If they're digital, then you didn't have to worry about all those things you have to worry about if they're real. Not to mention, it gave us access to, well, the World Wide Web, in fact, gave us access to the whole world. And I could go to bed and wake up in the morning and have a whole email full of people having ordered our digital product. And that was really, really exciting and very, very good for freedom. We love it, and we still love it to this day. And that's why digital products really rock our world, and we hope that they're going to rock your world as well. So what about how-tos? Why did we choose how-tos as the first step into teaching you how to create a digital product? I mean, there's plenty of digital products you could create, even software, videos, all sorts of stuff. But the how-tos, which can be videos and all software and all sorts of other things, but the particularly how-tos are a really interesting one because they are actually the things that are most sold online. So how to do something. So can you remember the last time that you went to an encyclopedia to find out how to do something? It's probably more likely that you actually went to Google to find out how to do something. And that's because there is so much information on the web now relating to how you actually do stuff. And the other reason we chose how-tos is that no matter what you say to me, and you may even be saying right now, I don't know anything that anybody needs to know or would want to know from me. It's frankly not true. You actually do. And a large part, in fact, of this particular webinar is going to be digging into just what it is that you can turn into a digital product that other people on the web are going to want to buy from you. All right. So it is probably the easiest way for you to get into creating a digital product that you can sell online, and that is to tap into your own knowledge and your own passions. And we'll go into a little bit more about why something that you're interested in or your own passions is actually an important place to start this journey. So the plan, we have a plan, believe it or not. Now you're very lucky if you're listening to this video or if you're attending today, because this is the last time probably that we'll run this particular course in this particular way. We've got a few changes coming up, so keep an eye out for that. So after running it through 3 times, we think we've ironed out a few things and we've discovered some other ways we'd like to do it. However, we're going to be running through this time in this way. So it's going to be Research It, which is today. So it's all about researching what you should be creating your how-to on. And then we're going to be doing Create It, which is next Tuesday. And that's all about how to create your digital product, that one important thing, so you actually have something to sell people, which then neatly moves us into workshop or webinar number 3, which is sell it. So how you're actually going to sell it online. So these are the 3 very basic, very important steps. For anything in business, in reality, you should be doing all of these steps. So I keep saying all right all the time. I am sorry about that. My husband tells me all the time that I say all right, but I think it's just my nuance, so just have to get over that. Let me go on. Well, thank you. Basically, over this 3 weeks, or these 3 one-hour sessions, I can't possibly teach you everything there is to know about how to create and run a digital business. The reality is I'm trying to distill down as much as I can that we've learnt in the last 13 years. That's not going to fit into a 3-hour block, not at all. So what I would like you to know is that this is an overview, and it's really to open your eyes up to what is available, to give you some inspiration. We got some feedback just recently about a lady who went through the very first time we ran this through. Just only a couple of months ago now, she went through it, and she has actually now turned an idea that she had into a product. And I think at the time of writing an email to me, she'd had her product out there online for sale for something like a week or so, and she had, I think she'd had 16 or 17 sales. She was really excited, and I was so happy and over the moon. Yes, this does work. So if that is one of the questions in your head, yes, it works. And yes, you could just go on from the things that you're going to learn from us in the next few weeks and create products that you can sell online. And that really is the whole purpose of it. That's what I'm passionate about, empowering you to understand just the power that you do have and what you can do with what's available online now. If you have a bunch of questions, and you will, because you will get stuck, please come over to the Boldly Different Facebook group, ask to join, and we'd love to have you there. And again, we will help you out as much as possible when you get stuck, because you probably will, because it's normal. So don't allow that to stop you, though. Just remember there is help. Now, let's move on. Research. The research phase is one that is missed out so often in so many businesses around the world. Every time I walk past a shop that in a small town that I know only opened a few months earlier, and it lasted maybe 3 to 6 months, it's because somebody said, I really love producing this widget, and now I love it so much I'm going to open a shop and everyone's going to come and buy from me. And yes, there might be a handful of people in that small community that also enjoy that widget. That doesn't mean that's enough of a critical mass in order to create a business that's going to be sustainable, and we see it all the time. So what you really need to overcome that, and that's online as well, not just in the real world, is you need to do a little bit of research before you throw all of your hard-earned cash and more importantly your time. You need to spend a little bit of time doing some research so that you don't create something that nobody's going to want to buy, and that really is what today is all about. So what we need to do is find out what is your particular how-to. How are we going to do that? That's a very good question. What I would like you to do is create a nice long list of all the things that you are good at. This is a really difficult thing for many people because most of us think we're not that good at things. The reality is you actually do have hobbies and skills that you may not be recognizing at the moment for one reason or another, because we don't tend to be very good at saying, putting your hand up, yes, I'm really good at sewing a straight line. I'm really good at planting tomatoes. I'm really good at creating tomato soup, for example. Most people won't write those things down because they don't think that they're of any value to anyone else. The reality is that they are, and I want you to write them down, put them in a big list. Now, you're probably still feeling a bit stuck, and you need a little bit more inspiration. What I would say is, put your thinking cap on. What have people told you recently that you're really good at? So now I'm not just asking you to put down what you think you're good at, but I'd like you to write down what you think other people think you're good at. often you'll think back not very long, and there will be things that people have said to you, gosh, you're good at that, or gosh, I wish I could do that like you can, something like that. If you're still getting a little bit stuck in that arena, then I would suggest that you send an email out to 10 of your friends and family even, and ask them, what do they think you're good at? Just say, I'm just doing this special course, and one of the questions I have to ask you is, what do you think I'm good at? Can you tell me some things that you think I'm good at? All right, it's a very simple question, and you'll be surprised what people think you're good at. All right, so now you've got a little bit of a list. Or maybe you haven't. Maybe you still need a little bit more inspiration, or you just need to extend that list somewhat. And I would suggest what you do is you get up, you get away from the computer, and you go outside into the real world. I know it's a revolutionary idea. I want you to go out and look around you. Go to the bookstore, maybe even have a look in things like the yellow pages, if you like, for clubs. But going back to the bookstore, if you're in the bookstore, have a wander around. Look at all of the areas that there are hobby areas that you might be interested in. Maybe it's travel around a particular country. Maybe there's some cultural things you're interested in. Maybe it's something to do with languages. It could be, it's just numerous. It's so huge. Simon and I often look at each other when we see another really small area or niche hobby that people are really fascinated by that we didn't even know existed. You would be surprised. So have a little wander around places like bookstores, and maybe even when you're standing in the supermarket queue, have a look around, or in the newsagents. Those magazines that you see in the supermarket queue or when you're in the newsagents, there are some great ideas there. I mean, if people have had enough money to be able to create a whole magazine around, say, sailing, for example, or a particular kind of sailing, and definitely golf, for example, there's heaps of magazines on golf, then there is definitely a business there, and there is a niche within those different areas. So they're a much bigger, broader category, but within, say, golf or sailing, there are niches that you could be interested in taking forward, especially if you're interested in them. You don't have to be really good at these things either, by the way. You could just be interested in them. And the next slide, I'm going to show you why. So this real-world research, for me, that's just to give you a little bit more of a kick in the bum, if you like, to open your eyes to the possibilities that are out there. All right. The next one, this slide here, this is actually something that I was so excited when somebody first revealed this to me many, many years ago now. But do you know that if you spent an entire weekend reading everything you could and watching every video you could on a particular topic, say it was how to tie the best knots in sailing, say that was your particular topic, that you actually don't know how to do that very well, but it is something you're interested in, and that is an important factor. You do need to be interested in it, and if you like, an enthusiastic person in this particular topic. So just let's say it was tying knots in sailing. If you read everything you could and watched every video that you could over an entire weekend, and probably in this example actually tied a few knots, did some practicing, you would actually know more than 90% of the people on the planet about tying knots for sailing, like sailing knots, if you like. So, you know, let that sit with you for a couple of minutes. So maybe there is something you've always been quite interested in but never had enough time to actually pursue. Well, what you can do is go and spend a weekend doing a lot of research on it, and then you become an enthusiastic amateur, and you'll suddenly know a lot more about it than anyone else, and you can create a digital product on how to do something within that particular niche. There you go. That should have provided you with a really long list of things that, number one, you are already quite good at, and number two, you are very interested in and passionate about perhaps chasing down. Okay, so next, let's look at the research. Hopefully you can just choose one of those ideas that we can run with now. So just one of those ideas. I'm just going to have a quick drink. And this is what most people don't do when they start their little shop in the high street that doesn't work, that has to close after a little while. This is one of the things that they don't do, and they really should do. They need to see if there is actually a market for their chosen niche or their chosen area. Are there people looking for and, importantly, purchasing information products or digital products in this area? If there are, then you have a green light and you can go ahead with your plans. So how do we do this research? Well, we have a tool that Google has kindly provided for us called the Google Keyword Planner. Now all you need to do is Google Keyword Planner and you will find a link to it quite quickly. Signing up to the Google Keyword Planner may be a little bit more complicated, but it is definitely worth going through a little bit of annoyance with Google in order to get hold of this planner. It actually lives inside Google's AdWords platform, and Google's AdWords platform is being provided for people who want to pay Google money in order to advertise on the Google platform. So whenever you do searches and you see ads, that's all provided by the Google AdWords platform. So in order to actually use the keyword planner and make these kind of choices and see how many people are searching for particular things, you will actually need to join AdWords. I'm not going to go through how to do that right now, but Google will step you through that process quite readily. You may be asked to provide a credit card. I don't think, when we did it many years ago, I think we had to pay $25, which just sort of sat there and became the first money that went into our advertising. I'm not sure that you still have to do that, but let us know in our Facebook group and we can have a discussion about it, because it's been such a long time since we've actually had to open a Google AdWords account. It's not something I'm familiar with, but yeah, just go and do it. Google is quite good at showing you what to do next. What we're going to do right now for us next is go and have a look at the keyword planner, because I'm sure you'd be interested in it. Now I just need to show you the correct screen. So that's this screen here. You see a funny thing going on. Okay, there is the Google Keyword Planner. This is the first page you'll get to when you have got a Google AdWords account. If you find that you're a little bit lost, you just go to the menu here which says Tools, and in the drop down there you just go down to Keyword Planner and you'll end up on this page. What we want to do is click on the search for new keywords, and here we are. Now I have prepared a couple of keywords earlier because I knew I was about to do this with you. So I will just copy them and I will paste them in here. You can put in just one keyword or key phrase, or you can do it by putting a little comma, a little comma, and then another keyword or key phrase, as many as you like. But they should all be related. And for this example, probably one is best. So you would put in here what you think someone's searching for, your particular idea, your how-to idea, would look for in Google in order to find a product like the one you're thinking about making. So here I've taken our quilting example because that's where we got started in the digital world, by creating products to sell to the digital community. So I've put in quilting patterns, quilting lessons, and quilting classes just to see what we get. There are other options here that you can do. At this time, we'll leave everything open, unless, for example, you think that your product would only be applicable to somebody in a geographical area. Then, for example, you could actually just click that and then just provide whatever that location is in there. Excuse me. However, what we're going to do is just go ahead and hit Get Ideas. Now Google goes off and does its little bit of magic and goes and looks at those keywords, and then will come back and tell us what sort of volume or how many people are searching for those keywords or key phrases, those search terms. We've got the ad group here, ad group ideas. At this time, I'm not going to go into that, but that's something that Google provides for the people who are advertising, because it's a good idea to put your add groups or your ads into little groups of tightly related keywords or key phrases. That can be very useful for what we're doing as well, but at the moment we're just going to look at the keyword ideas. So you click the tab that says keyword ideas, and you will get a rather long list of keyword ideas. At the moment you can see it says 800. That's a lot. So what Google's done is gone along and said, excuse me, so for these keywords, these are the oh, it says there was a problem, I'm not sure about that. Anyway, it's gone along and said these are the keywords that are related to the ones that you've put in, and here is the search volume. So you don't just get back what you think people might be using as a keyword or as a search term. You actually get back a whole bunch of things that Google say are also used if you're interested in that particular area. So that's really powerful. I'll tell you one example which I share quite regularly because I think it shows really clearly just how important this sort of research is, especially once you get into creating a website and things like that. We have a client in Tasmania who supplies heat pumps for Tasmanian homes, and he was relying on people going to the web and typing in to find him, to type in heat pumps. However, his website was created by a company that wasn't in Tasmania, that was away from Tasmania, and most of Australia and maybe the rest of the world call these particular heat pumps, they call them reverse cycle air conditioners because they go both hot and cold. And in Tasmania, mostly we're only interested in making our houses warm. So his website actually said a whole lot about reverse cycle air conditioners. There was not one mention of heat pumps. So when people went to search for products like his, they never ever found his website because his website wouldn't come up, because as far as Google was concerned, it was about reverse cycle air conditioners. So that is just a really good example for why, even though we think we know our product really well and we think we know our customers really well, and you might think you know your niche really well, it's a really good idea to come in here and find out just how much search volume each of these things have. So as you can see here, it's got free a lot. What I would like to do, because we're interested in selling something, we're not actually interested in giving something away ultimately, although there may be some free things in your sales model coming down the track. We are going to type here where it said negative keywords. We're going to type in free, and then we click off, and what Google does is take away all of the search terms that included the word free. So now instead of 800, we've got 670. So it's not reduced a great deal, but it's reduced a little bit. The terms that you put up the top here, you'll notice also are provided in a separate box at the top, so you can get an idea of their search volume as well. So what it's telling me here is that in the last month, or over the last 12 months, the average monthly search for the words quilting patterns has been 9,900 per month. And the actual competition is high, so we're not always excited about that. And this is the bid, so this is actually related to the advertising. So if somebody wanted to put an ad up for quilting patterns, they would need to pay probably at least 66 cents every time somebody clicked on that ad. So it gives you an idea of the kind of money that is available and the kind of competition that is around for particular key phrases, I guess. And if you're looking for in your niche, it'll give you a good idea as well. So you can go through, you can search via, if you click on any of these headings, so if you click on the keyword heading, you will get by relevance. If you click on the monthly searches, you'll get the lowest to the highest, or the highest to the lowest, and the same with all of these other headings. So that's one way you can go through it. Before I leave this page, I also wanted to show you that you can come along here and see the trends. So these is per month. Obviously January is quite a big month for quilting. It's probably because it's a wintry kind of month in the Northern Hemisphere where quilting is the most popular, whereas summer in June and May and July, it's a little lower. You know, it's still not greatly seasonal, but it is a little bit seasonal. There are some things, obviously, which are very, very seasonal. Okay, so that gives you a little bit of information. You can fly through here. You might find all sorts of stuff you hadn't even thought about looking at. What I suggest you do in order to keep control of all of this and to be able to really dig down into it is that you hit the download ideas button. And then here the magic is to actually hit save to Google Drive, which is this one here. Then you hit download. By the way, if you don't have a Google account, you should have a Google account, because the Google account is very powerful and it's free and provides an awful lot of really useful things inside that account. Now in here, what it's done is open up the Google spreadsheet for you, which is fantastic. But what I want you to do is probably get rid of this column, and if you hold down the command key, get rid of that one, that one, that one, that one, that one. Oh, actually, you could probably leave that one. Obviously, it's all in American dollars. You don't really need to leave that. And then you can just go, well, that wasn't very clever. That one, that one, that one, that one, that one, and you hover. Anyway, we want to delete the columns. I'm sure you're very capable of deleting these columns yourself. It's just so that to make it clearer for us so we can see what's going on. Now, Simon has created a really cool macro, which is like an automatic little piece of code which will go through and sort these groups or these columns in ways that are really useful. I'm not going to show you that right now because it might get a little bit too technical, but if you're interested, please let us know in the Facebook group over at Boldly Different, and what we can do is give you access to that little bit of code which you can then paste into here and create a couple of columns which will make it easier for you to get your way through possibly 600 odd keywords to work out what might be a good way for you to go forward. Now with competition, the general rule we would say is you don't really want to be hanging out in a sort of area which has more competition than, say, 0.8 or 80%. So this one here, for example, is way too high. So that's 0.91. That would be just too high. So what you're aiming for is anything that is below 80%, which has a reasonable search volume. So this one here has 2,900 in a month, and it's 77%. So that's a reasonable sort of area. So if I was trying to decide what kind of quilt patterns I should create for people to download, then Log Cabin Quilt Pattern may not be a bad idea at all, because it comes up quite nicely in this thing here. So what about the modern quilt pattern? So this one here is also very good. I noticed this one earlier when I did a bit of pre-research, and this has got 2,900 and it's only 59%, so it's even better, so with less competition in the search results. And modern quilt patterns. So as long as what I was creating was related to modern quilt patterns and I could use that in my website and in my pattern, then this might be a good area to explore. So in order to filter some of these, I will get Simon to provide that little piece of code that you can paste into your spreadsheet, especially if you're interested. Just let us know in our Facebook group called Boldly Different. Now, this is a slightly complicated thing that I've just shown you. I know there's a whole bunch of numbers there. I don't want you to get frightened. It really is just for you to have a little dig around, get a little bit better understanding, okay? One of the things that I want you to understand is that if you decide on a particular niche or area to do your product on, your how-to product, and then you get to some of these stages and you realize that you can't see any significant search volume, there's not many people searching for it, and there's too much competition or not enough competition, which is another factor, feel free to turn around, go back and start again. You know, this is a rinse and repeat sort of thing. Most people fail before they actually have a success. And there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, it's really important that you do. You probably learn more when you do fail than when you go ahead and have a winner straight out of the gate all the time. It's probably not likely to happen. However, when you do this research, then you're more likely to have a success. So with that said, I'm going to flick back to the presentation. Hopefully you can see that. Let me see. Yep. All right. So that's a little bit of keyword research. When I first found that out many years ago when we started our business, it was like a lightning bolt moment to be able to see actually potentially how many potential customers that I could have a month, even if I worked on just getting 5% of the people who typed in any particular search term in any given month. And if that meant that my business could be in profit, I could do those numbers and see that quite well. That got me very excited because it wasn't so much just hoping, wishing and praying that things would work out anymore. It was actually something that I could see and possibly achieve in the future. Very exciting. So hopefully that keyword research has also given you that little bit of a light bulb moment. Again, send any questions over to the Boldly Facebook group and we'll get stuck into them for you. The next thing, now I have touched on it very briefly, is competition. Now, it is actually really important to ask yourself, is there any competition? In all of the time that Simon and I have done lots and lots of mentoring and coaching for small business, and people in particular will come to us in startup mode and they'll say, you know, we've got a real winner here, there's no one else doing this. That is a really big red rag. Why is nobody else doing it? Why is there no competition? Why has nobody already thought of this? Now, I'm sure there are the rare occasion where that is the case, where there are, when there is an amazing idea that somebody's come up with that nobody else has been able to monetize or whatever. But they're kind of rare, all right? So it is a red flag, and you do need to have a bit of a deeper look at it if you come across an area where you can't find anybody selling anything. Now, the other thing to look at is the competition online. So not just competition, but we're here talking about creating a product that you're going to sell online. If there is nobody else selling a product online to this community, then, you know, maybe this community hasn't really taken the online space on as a way to get their information yet. I mean, it's highly unlikely, but it is something you need to consider. Because you don't want to be reinventing the wheel, if you know what I mean, and convincing a whole community of people that the web is where they need to get their information from. So I will just show you a couple of things when it comes to research of your competitors that we like to use. One of the things that I've done ahead of time was to grab this modern quilt patterns, because it's such a groovy keyword and comes up with some nice numbers there. I've grabbed it and put it over here into the Google search results to come up with perhaps a competitor to see what's out there. Another thing before I go on, just to show you a little bit about Google search results. There is 1,250,000 results, it says. There were pages on the web that have modern quilt patterns on it somewhere. What I'm going to do is put speech marks around it, these three words, and I'm going to hit, actually just before I go on, see this list of words that come up here, list of ideas. So this is Google giving you a bit of a heads up on the sort of things that people actually have been typing into Google. So that one's really interesting. So modern quilt patterns for sale. That's very interesting. So are actually people looking for and typing in for sale? They've already got their hand on their purse, if you like, saying, I'm actually prepared to pay for a pattern. All right, so keep an eye out on those, because some of those are really fascinating, and you can actually be then using them in your marketing in the future. Now, these question marks, quotation marks around modern quilt patterns actually say to Google, please tell me how many pages on the web have modern quilt patterns written exactly like that. So it's not modern quilt patterns scattered around the page somewhere, but in fact it's exactly like that. And what it's come back with, instead of whatever, however many million it was it 1.25 million? It's now only 403,000. So that has reduced it significantly. Now the other thing that I do is go down to the bottom, and I see that I've set it to 100. So I get 100 results and not just 10. It's actually only going to 3 pages. So 3 pages of 100. The reality there is there's probably only 300 actual results. Look at that. So there isn't actually all that many results for that. So you can dig around a bit and you can get to the bottom of particular keywords or key phrases to see if they would work really well in your business based on how much competition there may or may not be inside Google. Right, I'll just take these off again because I'd like to show you, excuse me. Okay, excellent. So what I've done is gone and grabbed one of the competitors, so somebody who was in this list. So this one here, the Fresh Lemon Quilts, and you can see this is her page here, and she comes up for modern quilt patterns. So if I was selling a product that was based around modern quilt patterns, then she would be a competitor of mine. Now I'm just going to have a really quick look at some of the things she's doing on here to see if it can give me any more ideas for the ways I might want to go in my business. What I've done is used a thing called SEO Quake. So that's a little plugin, you might say, for Chrome. So you can go and download that. It's for free and it will sit inside the Chrome browser. Whenever you want to use it, you just click it and you click enable and you turn it on, but you only ever have it on when you want to use it. So you enable it, you hit refresh on the page that you want to look at or the competition, and then you turn it off, because if you leave it on, it does that for every single page you go to and it slows you down. We don't want that. The thing that I really wanted to look at to begin with was the rank, because I'd actually like to know how is Fresh Lemons going. So I've clicked on this one here, and what it does is open up another page on a website called SEMrush. You can use SEMrush by itself. You don't have to go through SEO Quake. However, here it's saying, so in the US, her traffic is, she gets about 1.1 thousand visitors a month. So that's awesome. And if I hover over here, it's all organic. She's not actually paying for any traffic. All of the traffic she gets is organic. So they're just people searching inside Google. They're not, she's not paying for her traffic. And then you can come down and dig into a whole lot more. So what sort of keywords they think her page is relevant for. On this free level, you can only get, I think, up to 5 different depths in each of these areas. So I can only get 5 keywords or 5 competitors. And again, you can just go down, have a look, see where she's getting links from. You can just get a feel for this business if you like. It's a really good thing to do. And once you have your own website up and going for a while, it's actually quite a good thing to do for your own website from time to time as well, because it will give you an idea of how the search engines are looking at you. All right, so have a little dig around there, see if there's any keywords that you may not have come across in the Google searching things that we've done and the research that might be relevant. She's not advertising, that's okay, but we do know that she's selling some things, because if I go in here, you'll see that she's actually got patterns for sale and she has a shop. Okay, so I have actually been in there, and the patterns she is selling, she has a mixture of both real patterns that she'll post to you, and she also has digital ones. So if this was what you wanted to go forward and do, you could see that there is actually a business there to be had. There are people out there selling the same kind of products that you're thinking about creating. So that's a good tick. What I might do if I was in this phase myself at the moment is grab some of that information that I picked up in here, and I might paste it over into this spreadsheet that we started earlier, maybe create a couple more columns about the competitor or about a bunch of competitors even, so that I could have it all in one space and remember what I found out. One more thing that I occasionally look at is the one called density, only because, again, it gives me a bunch more keywords and phrases. So these are all the one-word ones, these are the 2 words, and so on and so forth. So it just gives me an idea of what people are using on their websites at the moment and how that could affect my business. All right, let's get back to the presentation. Again, if you have any questions, please put it in the in the chat, and we will do our best to answer them. And if you're listening to this on video, then pop over to our Facebook group, and over there we will again do our best to answer them. All right. So how do we ensure that your how-to hits the spot? We've done all this research. We've found out that there is enough search volume that it is a good area to be in. We've found out by looking at competition that there is actually people selling things in this area online of a similar nature, downloadable information if you like. Well, the really important thing that so many people don't do is we go to the community online, to this community we've been sort of hovering around at the moment, and we actually ask them, what is it? What do they want to know? How can we help them? It is actually a really, really valuable thing to know, because not only are you going to answer a question for them or a bunch of questions in your how-to, you're actually then going to come back and be able to sell it into that community. So you're asking the people that you're going to sell to in the future, what is it you want to know? And you're going to answer that, and then you're going to come back to that community and you're going to sell it to them. You know, it doesn't take rocket science to understand the value of that. It's actually really, really, really important. Now, how could you frame that question? So, for example, you could say, I'm in the process of creating an ebook or a video course or an audio series or whatever you want to call it. I'm in the process of creating this product or this course on how to create the perfect quilt. What is it that you really want to know, or where do you get stuck most when it comes to quilting? Something like that. For everybody who answers this for me and provides me with a question, their biggest question, I will provide a copy of this digital product once it's done. So you're actually asking people to give you their questions, their most important questions, the places they get stuck, and in return, you will give them a copy of your digital product. Now, this isn't going to cost you anything because you're not posting them anything. You're actually just going to send them a copy of your digital product. And they see great value in that, because indeed there is great value in that. But for you, it's not actually physically going to cost you anything, which I think is an important thing when you're just starting out in business. All right, I hope you understand that. Now you're probably thinking, how am I going to ask this question, and where? How do I find these people? How? Now, when we started it with PPC, which stands for pay per click. Now, we very briefly touched on that with the Google AdWords, but you can actually go and make the most of that Google AdWords account you've now created, and you can create a little ad that even just says that. You know, have a simple question to ask, please come along and answer it, and we will give you XYZ free product for doing so. You will find that people inside different areas, they're really passionate about it. They're really passionate about those niches, and they cannot wait to share the information that they have, or they can't wait to say, yeah, this was the biggest question I ever had, etc., etc. Facebook also have a pay-per-click section, which you can go and create a campaign, and you can be very targeted and say target just people who are interested in quilting, for example. You could probably even target just people who are interested, who have said that they are beginner quilters as well, if that's what you're after and you think that might be your target market. So that's one lot of places you can go. But where are you going to send them to? And I forgot to mention that on the earlier slide, but there is a place called SurveyMonkey, which allow you to ask a few questions for free, where you can just send people to that page and they can just literally answer that question. It's very simple, won't take them more than a couple of minutes, and then you just ask them to provide their email address so that you can send them their free product once they've answered the question. Okay, where else? Well, there's Facebook groups. Of course, they're a great place because people who are passionate about particular areas, they often will hang out in a Facebook group because they want to talk about their particular passion. That's a great place for you to go and hang out, and it's also a great place for you to go and ask this same question. Again, because you're not actually asking them for something and not giving anything in return, you'll find you'll have a lot more hands going up and people prepared to ask to help you out and to give you the things that they find the toughest in this area. There's LinkedIn groups, because perhaps Facebook isn't where your kind of possible potential clients or customers hang out. Maybe they're more a professional kind of people, in which case they may well have a LinkedIn group that they hang out in. So what you need to do is find one of the really popular LinkedIn groups, one in particular, the same with the Facebook groups, where they're actually really active. And you can see that they talk a lot. That's quite an important thing to do. Otherwise, it's a bit of a waste of time if there's not lots of people hanging out there. What you want is an active group, I guess, to ask these questions. And yeah, as I said before, people love giving their help and advice around topics that they're really interested in. So another place to go, and one that we've had quite a lot of success in, is just forums. Like, I know they've been around forever and a day, but forums are a great place to go. They still exist. Go there and chuck in your question. So, you know, what is your most pressing question on XYZ? Tying a sailing knot. What's your most pressing question? And I will send you a free copy of my white paper or my special report or my ebook or my whatever. You'll find you'll get lots and lots. How do you find forums? Well, you just put into Google sailing forums, for example, or quilting forums. You'll find loads of them. Again, go to the ones that are actually quite active, and that's where you'll get the biggest results. I think we did this, the last time we did this was a couple of years ago, and I think I got 30 or 40 questions out of just forums because they were so keen to help us out. Because basically they're there to talk about their hobby, and yeah, they're really keen to talk about it, and they want to help you out, which is great to know. So how many questions do you need? Well, a rough guide would probably say between 20 to 40 questions would be a really good start. And once you do have those 20 to 40 questions, which, if done the right way, would probably only take less than a week if you ask in the right places, and you can spread it over all the places I've already talked about, or perhaps come up with some more if you like. Once you've got those, you actually have the bare bones of your digital product. You're probably, in many ways, more than halfway there. You've gone and you've asked the community online what they want to know about, and you're going to create a product that you can sell to the community online. It just makes so much sense, and 20 to 40 questions is plenty in order for a book or a product or a course to get organised around. And in the next workshop, we will actually talk about what to do with those 20 to 40 questions. So that gives you a week, basically, to go and create them. So if anyone's got any questions, let us know. I would love to see you in the Boldly Different Facebook group with all of your questions. Just come over and ask to join, and we will approve you straight away. The other thing you can do that we run is a question and answer coaching club, which is normally $147 a month. But at the moment, for everyone who attends these free webinars that we're providing, we're giving you 3 months for just 1 month's payment. So for $147, you get 3 months worth of question and answer coaching club. And in that, we meet once every 2 weeks, where everybody asks as many questions as they can. You get to learn from other people's questions, and you get to ask all of those questions, all of those places you're getting stopped. Now, I believe that you could easily go from an idea to creating a product to selling a product in, as short as 2 to 3 weeks. Really, you could. This coaching club, that's giving you 3 months to get over those little humps, those little technical things that stop you. You can come along and ask us any questions, and we'll create videos and all sorts of help. Basically, hold your hand from start to go. Well, yeah, from start to end, to go to launching a product and making your first dollar online. So if you're at all interested in that, we'd love to see you there. You go to businesscoaching.missioninternational.com, and we will help you out and answer as many questions as we can. All right, next week we have workshop number 2 called Create It. And in that, we are going to take those 20 to 40 questions that you have gathered in the last week, and we're going to teach you how to turn that into a product. And you'll be surprised. There are some really easy ways, there are some more complicated ways. But either way, you will turn it into a product. The only thing I want to stipulate here is that you need to take action. The difference between you staying where you are right now and you being where we are right now, if that's what you're interested in, and traveling around the world and having a bit more freedom in your life, is that you take action on the things that I'm teaching you here. All right? It's the one thing that people find really hard to do, and those of us who do take action from time to time, we find it most frustrating when we are trying to teach people to do this kind of thing that they don't take action. It doesn't have to take a real lot of time. You just need to apply yourself and do something. Even a little bit, 2 or 3 times a week is better than nothing at all. Okay? All right. I will see you in the Boldly Different Facebook group. I would love to see you there. In the meantime, get to work. Go and get those questions that you need to move on. Do the research, get the questions. And I will see you in 1 week's time in a Google Hangout. Can't wait. See you then. Thanks for being here. Bye.